Hey, great. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Katie Rosenberg, and I'm the mayor of Wausau. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to participate in this listening session. We're holding half a dozen of these sessions to understand how our community has interacted with law enforcement in the past and what the expectations are moving forward. In addition to these listening sessions, we've also set up dedicated phone lines in English, Spanish, and Hmong where folks can anonymously share their experiences. We also have an online form, and there's always snail mail. You can get all of the details if you want to participate in those ways. At the WIP's website, it's wipps.org/WPD. Your comments will be shared with the entire Wausau Policing Task Force, which was created by my office and authorized by the City Council after Wausau had the largest political demonstration in generations this summer. That was nearly 2,000 people who showed up to peacefully demonstrate. And we want to let people know that we heard them, and we wanted to be responsive but not reactive. We saw that not working in other communities. So for the last several months, this task force has been meeting to learn and assess Wausau's policing policies and practices, and they're ready to hear from you directly about your experiences, if they're good, if they're bad, if they're indifferent, and use those insights to provide community-led public safety recommendations to the public, the Wausau City Council, and the Wausau Police Department about how best to protect the human health, safety, and general welfare of Wausau residents and visitors who come into contact with our law enforcement. Now, we do have one member of our task force present. I want to give a shout out to our chair, John Robinson, for attending tonight, and others will have access to your comments afterwards. So please know that you can share what you want without fear of any retaliation, and we just really want to know your thoughts and experiences. So thanks again for coming and engaging with your community as we strive for excellence together. I'll introduce our facilitators, Dave and Yang.
Thank you, Mayor Rosenberg. My name is Dave Anderson, and I'm a senior policy fellow at the Wisconsin Institute for Public Policy and Service, and I'll be serving as your co-moderator for the evening.
And I am Yang Lor, president of Faithful Consulting, and I will be the other co-moderator. This is a public meeting, and we're recording it so that we can accurately capture what is being said. If you do not feel comfortable with others hearing what you have to say, or if you'd like to protect your identity, or if you have additional things you want to say anonymously, please know that we want to hear your voice and that there are other ways to participate. As Mayor Rosenberg mentioned, you can share a voice, an email, a letter, a video, or audio, or fill out an online form. The online form is the most confidential way to share information. It will not be linked to your identity. For more information, please visit wipps.org/WPD or take a look at the flyer you received where you will find more information about and more ways to participate.
Thank you, Yang. For everyone's safety and protection, we'll be enforcing the city's COVID guidelines for this meeting. A mask must be properly worn to cover your mouth and nose at all times, including when speaking. When you desire to speak, please make your way to one of the two microphones up here in the front. And be mindful of social distancing when standing in line to speak, if there is a line. That means standing at least 6 feet apart. Those who refuse to follow these rules will be asked to leave the meeting. Oh, and I guess I should continue here. Ground rules tonight, we would like you to silence your electronic devices. Only one person is to speak at a time. The moderators will determine the speaking order. No interruptions when someone is speaking. Please keep your remarks to a reasonable amount of time. If you have a lot to say, the moderator would reserve the right to ask you to abbreviate your thoughts. However, please remember that you may share your thoughts through the other means, as we talked about earlier, voice message, email, letter, online feedback, by visiting wips.org/WPD, which is listed on the flyer. Please be respectful of others and their viewpoints. Please speak about your own experience or things you have observed, not about stories you have heard from others. Some may choose to share stories that are personal and emotional. You may feel anger, sadness, joy, and so on. These emotions are welcome. We ask you to have patience with one another as we share these feelings. We ask you to refrain from personal attacks. Hate speech, of course, will not be tolerated, and those who engage in hate speech or personal attacks will be asked to leave.
By staying in this space, you are acknowledging and accepting these ground rules. If you choose not to abide by these ground rules, we invite you to leave the space so others can participate safely. If you choose to leave, you will still have an opportunity to share your views. You share your views through one of the other methods that we've mentioned. Tonight's questions, there will be 6 we would like you to respond to. When you are called on to speak, you are welcome to respond to any of the 6 questions. And because we do have such a smaller group, we're just gonna make it very interactive. We're just gonna have a discussion around it. So here are the 6 questions, and you may respond to any one that you would like. And then I'm gonna ask the questions, and then I'm gonna have the principal come and just kind of talk a little bit about his experience with the police task force and any opinions, any suggestions, any things he would like to say, and then we'll get started. So here are the 6 questions. When you think of safety in the city of Wausau, and what are the most urgent priorities in your opinion? What are those most urgent priorities in your opinion? The second question. Okay. What are current strengths of the Wausau Police Department, if any? What concerns do you have about the Wausau Police Department, if any? Please describe specific experiences of interactions, if any, have you personally had with Wausau law enforcement, positive, negative, or both? If there's anything you would like the Wausau Police Department to change the way it conducts law enforcement, and if so, why are these changes important to you? And then the last question, if there are any further information about policing you would like to share with or receive from the city of Wausau. So those are the 6 questions. I'm going to invite the principal of John Muir up to just talk a little bit about his experience, and then we'll have an engaging conversation.
Good afternoon, Patrick Galligan. I'm the principal here at John Muir Middle School, but for a long time have been a part of the Wausau community as I've been a teacher, coach, and administrator in the Wausau School District since 2001. I've seen many, many positives come out of the relationship between the SROs, who I mostly have worked with over the years, the school resource officers, and our students here at John Muir this year and in previous times at Wausau West High School. I've been very impressed by the level of care and concern that these officers have shown towards students, towards members of their family. They're here to help. They're here to build relationships. They're here to work with students and try and get them a better experience, give them access to information to make their lives better, get help sometimes for their parents or for them or people they know. And I've been continually impressed by the relationship that I've seen school resource officers build with students, with faculty members, with our community in general. So I told them I'd keep it short and sweet, but I have many positive experiences and seen many good things out of the relationship between our school district and the police force here in Wausau. Thank you.
So thank you very much. The time is yours. Any other comments or questions? Guess we only have one other person in the audience. Not to put you on the spot, but if you don't want to, that's fine too.
Maybe I can ask a follow-up with the school principal, if you don't mind, just to get a little bit more information and data for us. So you've had a lot of great experiences. Are there, in your experiences, in your years working for the school district and the community outside even the school, where you see opportunities for the Wausau Police Task Force to maybe bridge or maybe create or innovate or even anything new? What are your thoughts?
Good enough? Okay. So, yeah, sure, there's always room for improvement, just like any industry or any group that we're talking about. You know, when you look at what our community is learning and what people in our community are experiencing, we have new diversity in our community. We have new challenges in our community, just like we have in schools and lots of places. So I think constantly being re-educated or improving education about relationship building with different groups, about cultural norms, about lots of different things is, I don't think, too much of a controversial thing. I think we all have to do that to try and get better continually. At the same time, I think there are ways in which, police standards probably have changed over time too, and expectations of what police need to do to keep laws enforced and also to work with people in the community. So constantly thinking about that and trying to respond to the changing dynamics. We see that in education all the time, and I think that's true in many other places as well, that times change and we need to kind of keep up with those changes as well.
So I hear one is more education, it sounds like, that the police task force could do.
Sure. I would say continued education, because
Yeah,
I'm sure that they have gone through a great amount of training, just like any industry or any group that you're talking about. But yeah, times change, standards change, and just thinking about things. I know in my time in education, what I would have taught about in the classroom even a decade ago probably wouldn't be the same way. This certainly would not be the same way. Technology has changed dramatically, as we've seen. The teachers that I work with on a regular basis now do some amazing things. And I know that that also changes with law enforcement and with other parts of society too. So yeah, continued education was very important.
So it sounds like continued education for the officers.
Sure.
Do you also mean education from the officers to the community, or like school systems and stuff like that too? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
No, that's great. And I think to clarify that, very much so. So the officers need continued training. I think their ability to communicate what their expectations are for society and how to respond, how to have a positive relationship with police force is just as important. I learn in my role in education, it's not what I say, it's what everybody else hears me say, right? And I think that that's really important for everyone to consider when you're making a public message. My words right now might be misinterpreted by some and turned or changed around, and I have to be conscious of that too. But really it is how our police force works with the community and their actions, their nonverbal communication, their verbal communication with people probably dramatically changes any situation that they enter into, and oftentimes are in very, very challenging circumstances. So it's a tough job, and I think we need the best people to be able to do it, and they need to constantly think, just like we all do, about what our actions do for people's lives.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Does our other audience member want to share any input at this time? Don't want to pressure, but okay, not at this time. Okay. If you, oh, go ahead.
I'm going to put you on the spot again. I'm John Robinson, I chair the task force, and one of the things that we will be looking at is what are the needs of the community, and one of the tasks that we had assigned to us was looking at the social needs, the mental health needs, homelessness, and trauma. And you probably see the impacts of all of those on your students. Looking at the community as a whole and how law enforcement interacts with those, are there some opportunities or challenges that you see that you would like to see our task force consider as we go ahead?
Well, I would say it's the same challenge we face as a school district, and we are starting to introduce, I guess is not the right word, but continue to work with some social emotional learning that's we've seen great value and need for. You talked about some of the challenges that our students face and that people face in general in society. We see the value that it's hard for them to learn about math and science and English if they don't have their basic needs met. And so we got to start there. And I've seen tremendous work from just the people I've worked with most closely, Officer Kevin Cornell, Officer Jeff Schremp up at Wausau West, great job of seeking out to help out those people. Like I said earlier, their job is not first and foremost to find out somebody breaking the rules. They're there to try and help and work with people, and I think that that's a great model for all police to do, and I believe that most police probably have that mission in life when they enter into the force and go into there. They're not trying to be the person who's enforcing laws and making sure people pay punishments or something like that. They're there to help. They're there to be part of a wider social network in terms of the support systems we build into our government structures to help people out, and from everything from unemployment to sponsorship of other programs, like you said, to help homeless people and to help people who with drug addictions and all gambit of problems and challenges that people face in life. We're part of that too in the school district, and I think we all need to do a good job working together to make that happen. Police officers can certainly be a big role in that, in terms of talking with our students and building a positive relationship from very young ages, so that people's vision of what the police are is maybe different from what some people unfortunately have right now in our society in terms of the role of police in our society.
I think I want to say, if we are live, that we will have more listening sessions like this. There is one on Saturday. There are virtual ones as well, so look on whips.org/WPD for some of those. And as we build traction, there's so many different ways to get your feedback in, and we want it. Our community needs it, and only by uniting and sharing all of our thoughts and hearing what our citizens have to say about our community is how we can move forward in a positive direction. So I would encourage anyone that's out there that is listening even to this tonight to share your opinion in any of the methods that we have. And we're all available. Our team is available to hear any of those comments, as well as I'm sure the mayor. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Yang Yi. And I'd like to thank those of you that were here for participating, and remind you once again, you can visit the website to provide additional input and use the other techniques that we talked about earlier. It's now my pleasure to introduce John Robinson for some brief concluding remarks. John?
Again, as a member of the policing task force, I want to thank you for your interest in sharing your thoughts with us today. The task force is looking to try to collect information through these listening sessions. We'll take that back. We'll develop a survey to try to set some baseline information as to what the community's expectations are. And from that, we'll have some focus groups. I think at the end of the day, the goal is a sort of a continuous quality improvement project that we know that there are lots of needs. But we will be making, at the end of our deliberations, recommendations to the city, the Police and Fire Commission, and to the public, and there will be another public hearing at that time to look at our recommendations and how we can protect or improve protection of health, safety, and general welfare of the residents. This is the start of that process, and again, we look forward to engaging the population as we go ahead, and I want to thank our facilitators for being here, and please spread the news. There are opportunities for input through the end of next week, whether the survey or others, and we value that input and appreciate your interest. So thank you very much for either being here in person or watching.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, guests who are here today. Thank you, Yang Yi. That brings our program to a close.